Are y'all ready for this? All right, today we're doing the STAAR Grade 7 Mathematics test, which was released May 2021. And so we're going to go through some actual problems from the 2021 May test for the STAAR 7th grade. Let's take a look at some of the reference materials that are provided. This is a formula chart, linear equations, slope-intercept, constant of proportionality, circle, circumference, and area, triangle, rectangle, trapezoid, circle. So all of these formulas are here. If you didn't memorize them, you don't have to memorize them. Volume for a prism or a pyramid, additional information such as pi is 3.14 or 22/7. Distance is equal to rate times time, simple interest formula, compound interest formula. Okay, here's a formula chart, and it says the volume for a pyramid, V, is equal to 1/3 area of the base, capital B is area of the base, times the height. And so that's the formula we need to use for this problem. Also, you have the length, customary and metric conversions, volume and capacity, customary and metric, and then you also have weight and mass, customary and metric. So all of these are provided for you, and they're right here under the reference materials. And if any problem needs these, we'll refer back to this table. Okay, let's take a look at question number 1. And it says here, George started with a coin collection. His dad gave him 75 coins to start. So he starts off with 75 coins. And each month, he will add 20 coins to the collection. So he will add 20 coins each month. So on the first month, he would have 20 times 1. And then on the next month, he will have the 75 plus 20 times 2, because he's added another 20. And then on the next month, he will have 75 plus 20 times 3. So every month, he's adding 3, and so on. Every month, he's adding 20. So which equation can be used to find y, the total number of coins in George's collection after X months? Well, right here where I have 1, 2, 3, this is X. So what I really have then is 75 plus 20x. Is there an equation that looks like 75 plus 20x? Well, answer B says 20x plus 75. Is that the same thing? Yes. So the answer would be B, 20x plus 75. That is the correct answer for number 1. Okay, looking at problem number 2, a building has a height of 125 meters and has a length of 80 meters. On a scale drawing of the building, the height is 25 centimeters. So what is the length of the building on a scale drawing in centimeters? Okay, so if the height is 25 centimeters on the scale drawing, what is the length? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a height of 125. It's 125, and the length is 80 meters. So both of those are in meters. Then I have another one, and let's say that this one is, the height is 25. So this height is 25 centimeters, and we want to know what is the length. So the length would be in centimeters. So this is centimeters, and this is centimeters. And this was meters, and this was meters. So meters is to meters, and then centimeters, centimeters. Okay, so 125 is to 25 as 80 is to what? So it looks like we have some kind of proportionality here. So we're going to have 125 corresponds to this 25 as this 80 corresponds to this x. Okay. So 125, if you divide that by 25, that's exactly 5 times. It's a factor of 5. So that means that everything in the blue here is a factor of 5 times, so times 5. So if I take 125 and divide it by 5, that gives me 25. So that means that I have to take this 80 and divide by 5 to get x. So what is 80 divided by 5? That's 16. So this x here has to be 16. Okay? So is there an answer that is 16? Yes. That would be answer G. 16 centimeters is correct. So what we have here is a scale factor of 5 to 1. So if you're going from the larger one to the smaller one, you have to divide by 5, which is what we did here. And G was the answer for number 2. Okay, so for problem number 3, Alberto's monthly income is $3,200, and we know that part of his monthly budget is shown in the table. So his rent is $896, groceries is $384, savings, car payments, utilities, etc. What percentage of Alberto's income is used to pay for his rent and groceries? Okay, so rent is $896, and the groceries is $384. So if we add those two together, 6 and 4 is 10, 9 and 1 carry 1. So 9 and 1 is 10, plus 8 is 18, carry 1. 8 and 1 is 9, 9 plus 3 is 12. So we have 1,280 out of the total 3,200. So 1,280 out of the total 3,200. And we want to change that to a percent. So we're going to multiply by 100 to change to a percent and see what we get. Okay. It looks to me like the zeros here, 2 zeros here, will cancel with those 2 zeros. And so what we have is 1,280 divided by 32. So 1,280 divided by 32. Now you can divide this by a long division, or you can reduce those out. You can reduce by 2 in the numerator and denominator. You're going to have 640. And reduce 32 by 2, that's 16. And actually, you can keep reducing by 2, or you can divide that out. You can divide by 16. Maybe reduce by 2 again. So 640 divided by 2 is 320 over 8. And you know that 8 goes into 32 4 times. So that would be 320 divided by 8 is exactly 40. So that means this is exactly 40%. So let's take a look at this problem. We know that 1,280 is a little bit less than half, because if you had 1,600 out of 3,200, that would be exactly 50%. So it's going to be a number less than 50%. And if you look at your answer choices, it can't be 64. 12 is too small, and 28 is still too small. 28 is a little bit too small. So 40% is the only answer that's reasonable. So as a way of checking, you can kind of go back and check and say, is this about right? Is 1280 about 40%? Okay. And one other thing that we could do to check, you can say, well, is there a way that we could check this? What is 40% of 3,200? 3,200 times 40%. And 40% is per 100, so that would cancel 2 zeros. So all you're going to do is multiply 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, and then you have a 0 for your 40. 1,280. So it checks. That's exactly what it is. 40% of 3,200 is 1,280. So you could actually take this answer right here and multiply that times the 1280. Multiply times the 3,200 and see if you get the 1280. And it does. So it checks out. Okay. Okay, problem number 4 says the dimensions of a rectangular prism are given in the net shown. So you have 7 inches, 3, 5, and down here you have 5, 3. What is the total surface area for the rectangular prism in square inches? So the total surface area is we have to find the area of all those rectangles and then add them all up. Okay. There are several ways to find the total surface area, but we will find out that if we draw this box, it's going to look something like this. And when we draw this out, we're going to find out that there's going to be 2 sides here, front and back. I'll call those red. And there's 2 sides here on the right side and on the left side. We'll call those blue. And then on the top and bottom, we have 2 of these sides, and those are going to be green. And so this one right here will be 7 by 5, which is the same as this one, 7 by 5. And that would be your top and bottom. And then we could have the blue would be this side right here, which could be 7 by 3. And this one would be 7 by 3. Those 2 are the same. And then the red one would be this one right here, which is 5 by 3. And this one right here, which is 5 by 3. And so then all we have to do is multiply those out and add them. 5 times 3 is 15. That one's 15. 7 times 3 is 21. And this one is 21. And the green would be 7 times 5. That would be 35. And this one is 35. So there's 2 35s. And there are 2 21s. And then there are 2 15s. And so what do you get when you add these? 15 plus 15 is 30. And then for the blue sides, 21 plus 21, that's 42. And then for the green ones, 35 plus 35, that's 70. So now all we have to do is add 70 plus 42 plus 30. 30 plus 42 is 72. And then 72 plus 70 is 142. So for number 4, you should get an answer of H. 70 plus 72, it should be 142. And that was the correct answer. If you like these type of videos, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so that I'll be able to make more videos like this. Okay, so number 5, we have a survey of visitors at a national park was conducted to determine the preferred activity of each visitor to the park. Each visitor chose one activity. The survey results were shown in the table. So camping, there's 28, hiking 22, water sports 14, and biking trails is 16. Based on this information, which prediction about the preferred activity for the next 200 visitors to the park is most reasonable? Okay, so for answer A, the number of visitors who prefer water sports will be 5 more than the number of visitors who prefer biking trails. So water sports, we have 14. And that's going to be 5 more than biking trails, which is 16. So here's water sports, here's biking trails. I don't see how that could be 5 more. So we need to take a look at the next answer. Answer B, the number of visitors who prefer hiking is 22, will be 8 more than the number of visitors who prefer water sports. Well, 22 is 8 more than 14, but over the next 22, we don't know if the difference is going to be 8 more. Okay. Part C, the number of visitors who prefer camping will be 15 times the number of visitors who prefer hiking. Camping, we have 28. And hiking, there's 22. That's not 15 times. Let's take a look at answer D. The number of visitors who prefer camping will be 2 times the number of visitors who prefer water sports. Camping, we have 28. Water sports is 14. So 28 to 14 is a ratio of 2 to 1. So if you have more visitors, it'll still be in that same ratio. So that answer makes more sense. This is a type of problem that you have to take time reading all the answers and think about, does it make sense with the data that's given? The only answer that makes sense is D, because right now it is already 2 to 1 ratio for camping to water sports. And if you have 200 more visitors or 1,000 more visitors, it'll still be in that ratio. More than likely it'll be 2 to 1. So the answer has to be answer D for this one. Okay, so for problem number 6, you have dot plots that show the number of apples picked by members of 2 different tour groups at an orchard. Tour group 1 and tour group 2. And so you see you have the number of apples that are picked, and then you have the numbers there. So which statement correctly compares these 2 data sets? The median of the data is the same for both data sets. Okay, the median would be in the middle. So in the middle here, and compared to this one, looks like there's more closer to, without doing a lot of calculations, it looks like they're not the same median. We could calculate the median, but it doesn't look like the same. Let's take a look at the mode. The mode is the one that appears the most. Is it the same for both data sets? Well, on group 1, you're going to have 4 of these here. And over here, you have the most here at 7. So this is not the same mode. What about the range? The range is high minus low. The most number of apples picked was 10, and the low was 1. 10 minus 1 is the range, which is 9. And for group 2, the most that was picked was also 10, and the least was 1. So 10 minus 1 is 9. So they do have the same range. So the range is the same. So the answer should be H. And let's look at J. The distribution of data is symmetrical for both. And I don't see that this is symmetrical. It's not evenly distributed. And this one is not symmetrical also. So the answer is H for number 6. Okay, problem number 8. Marco has 2 number cubes. The faces of each number cube is numbered 1 through 6. Marco has rolled the number cubes and recorded the number showing on the top face of each number cube. And the results are shown. So he got a 4 and a 2, 5, 2, 3, 1, and so on. So you see all the results there. And you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 20 different times that he rolled the cubes. Based on these results, we want to know what is the experimental probability that the next time the number of cubes are rolled, they will end with showing a 2 on the top face of one and a 4 on the other one. So you need a combination of 2 and a 4, or a 4 and a 2. And so let's see how many of those you have there. You have a 4 and a 2 on the first row. Here's another one. You have a 4 and a 2. And on the next row, you have quite a few here. You have a 2 and a 4, a 4 and a 2, a 2 and a 4, another 2 and a 4. Did I leave any out? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a total of 6 out of 20 tries. So for this one, if you have 6 out of the total 20, we need to find what is the probability. Well, can we reduce that? 6 out of 20, if you reduce by 2, 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 2 goes into 20 10 times. So it looks like out of every 10 tries, 3 of them will come up with a 2 or a 4. So for this one, it looks like the answer should be F, 3 out of 10, which is the same as 6 out of 20. So there were total of 20 different tries, and 6 times he got either a 2 and a 4 or 4 and a 2. So that's 6 out of 20, and that's equal to 3 out of 10, or 3/10 is the probability. Okay, problem number 9. Two congruent squares and a parallelogram were used to form the figure shown. What is the area of the figure in square meters? So we need to find the area for the squares. So this square is 3 meters by 3. 3 times 3, that would be 9. And since these are congruent squares, this is also 3 by 3. That's 9 square meters. And for the parallelogram, the area would be base times height. And the base here is 6, since that's 6. And the base is 6 times the height, 2.8. So we're going to multiply 6 times 2.8. 6 times 8 is 48. Carry the 4. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. So we have 16.8. And then for the squares, we have 9 plus 9, which is 18. So we're going to add 18 to the 16.8. So that's 0.8. And this would be, it looks like 34.8. So the answer here should be C, in 34.8 square meters. These were meters, so that's square meters. 34.8, answer C is correct. Okay, number 10 says, what is the value of the expression 26.95 divided by negative 5.5? So what we have here is we have 26.95 divided by a negative 5.5. And so 26.95 divided by 5.5. So the answer is going to be negative, because positive divided by negative. All the answers here are negative, so we don't have to worry about that. So all we have to do is take 26.95 and divide it by 55. But if I move the decimal over here 1 to make that a 55, I need to move the decimal here 1. So I actually have 269.5 divided by 55. And so now I have to say, well, 55 goes into 269 either 3, 4, or 5 times. It looks like 4 times would work. 4 times 55. 4 times 5 is 20. Carry a 2. That would be 220. And then we subtract this, would be 9. 49.5. So 55 times 10 is 550. 55 times 9, let's try 9. 9 times 5, carry 4, 45, 49, and that works evenly. Perfect. So the answer should be a negative 4.9. So the answer should be G. Now, is there an easier way of doing this? Yes, it could be. Maybe we'll try a different way. As a way of checking, I'm going to round off this to make this 27, and 5.5, I'm going to divide by 5, and I'm going to do 27 divided by 6. As a way of checking, maybe it's a little bit easier. So 27 divided by 5 is the same thing as 54 divided by 10. If I multiply by 2 in the numerator and denominator, which is 5.4. that's when I divide by 5. What if I divide by 6? 27 divided by 6 is going to be 4 and a fraction. 4 3/4, which is 4.75. So I'm looking for an answer that's between 4.75 and 5.4. And I'm looking for something kind of in the middle because I'm dividing by 5.5. I'm not dividing by 5. I'm not dividing by 6, but something kind of right in the middle between 5.4 and maybe 4.8. Well, 4.9 was the answer. So this verifies, this is a way of checking if this is easier. And there's many ways to divide this. There's other ways to do this. But this is one way that a student could check and see if the answer makes any sense. Obviously, this 0.49 is way too small, but it does have the same digits as this. And 3.3 is not within this range, so that's out of the range. 5.3 is within the range, but it's really close to this one, and so that's not the answer. So the answer was 4.9, answer G for number 10. Okay, so now we're problem 11, where we have triangle HJK, smaller triangle, is similar means they're going to be proportional to triangle LMN. And so we are looking for LM, which proportion can be used to calculate the length of LM. So here's LM, and LM corresponds to HJ. So 4.5 will be proportional to LM. And then the base of this triangle JK is 6, and that one's going to be proportional to MN, which is 9. And then what looks like a hypotenuse, this HK side, is proportional to this LN side. 7.5 is proportional to 11.25. And so we need to look for the right proportion. We're looking for LM. So let's take a look at the answer choices here and see what we can come up with. The first one, answer A, says that 7.5 is to 11.25. So it's going to be this side is to this side, as LM is to 4.5. As LM, which would be this one right here, LM is to this one. And it looks like that's correct, except for one thing. If you're going from the smaller triangle to the larger triangle, then you have to go from the small one, this should say from 4.5 to LM, and that would be okay. So you can go 7.5 from small to large, 11.25, then you have to go from 4.5 to LM. So this one is actually not in the correct order. Let's take a look at the next one. And for B, it says 6 is to 7.5. 6 is to this side, as LM. Well, that's not going to work because LM is the vertical line is to 9. That doesn't make sense. So this one's going to be out. Then the next one, 11.25, is to LM. So once again, we have this one is to this one, as 4.5 is to 7.5. So you're going from this large side to this side, and then small to large. That's not going to work. It's not in the right order. So let's take a look at D, because I think this should work. D says that 9 is to LM. So we're going to have 9 is to LM. 9 is to LM. So we're going from the base to the height of the large one. Then we should go from the base of the small one to the height. The base of the small one is 6, and the height is 4.5. That one does make sense because we're going from the base here, 9, to LM on the large triangle. And that should be the same thing as going from the base here, 6, to its height, 4.5. So the correct answer here should be answer D. Again, on these types of problems, you do have to go through all the different answers And take your time. This is not a speed test. It is easy to make a mistake on one of these. So take your time and be careful with these types of problems. Okay, number 12. What is the solution to this equation? Negative 12x minus 7 equals 53. This one is not a multiple choice question, but it's one that you have to bubble in and fill in the bubbles with your answer. So negative 12x minus 7 is equal to 53. So the first thing that we can do is we could add 7 to both sides to get rid of the minus 7. So plus 7 here and plus 7 here. So you're going to have negative 12 times some number x is equal to 53 plus 7, which is 60. So negative 12 times what number gives you 60? If you divide by negative 12, the answer is going to be a negative what? 60 divided by 12 is 5. So the answer is a negative 5 for this problem. And so you'll fill in, don't forget the negative, you record your answer and fill in the bubbles. The answer was a negative 5 for this problem. Is there a way that we could check this? Yes, you could take the negative 5 and substitute for x into the original problem. So negative 12 times a negative 5, and then subtract 7 and see what that gives you. It should be 53. And so all we're doing is substituting back into x. So negative 12 times a negative 5, that's 60 plus 60. And we know that 60 minus 7 will give us the 53. So that way we check the answer. So when you get negative 5, you can always plug it back in. Or we say substitute back for x and make sure that it works and it checks out. So that is correct. Negative 5 is the answer. Okay, so number 13. This will be the last one in this part of the video, part 1. The dimensions of a rectangular pyramid are shown. The base is 4 feet by 8 feet and the height is 6 feet. And we want to find is the volume of this rectangular pyramid. And so what we need to do is we need to go back and take a look at the reference chart, the formula chart, and see what is the volume for a pyramid that is given to us. So the volume is equal to 1/3 the area of the base times the height. And so the base is 4 feet by 8 feet. It's a rectangular base. So what we're going to do is B is 4 times 8, which is 32. And so now we have 1/3 of 32 times the height. And the height was 6. And that will give us the volume. 3 doesn't go into 32. So when we take 1/3, we have to divide by 3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 3 here. So 1/3 of 6 is 2. So I have 2 times the 32. What's 2 times 32? You say 64. And 64 for number 13, answer C, is the correct answer. So at this point, we're going to pause it right here. This will be the end of part 1, and we'll upload the video onto YouTube so you can watch it later. And subscribe if you like this type of videos, and we'll keep making more, and hit the like button. Thank you for watching.